fucking incredible mountain.
Guys, this is great water.
Hey, that's it. We can nap.
Maybe a little bit more pressure.
You are enough and you have you.
Psych yourself out to say that you can do it. You can pretty much do anything.
Man, here
That
we
was
are.
an awesome video.
Brian,
I said that was an awesome video. I hadn't seen that Jackson's one.
you haven't seen Jax's video?
Mm-mm.
Oh man, yeah, that's an awesome video, and we played that video tonight because, well, the Russ of Oz back behind the curtain said, "Hey, let's play Jax's video tonight." It's like, that's a great idea because our guest tonight, she is also a part of their platform, so it was very fitting. It was very fitting. That's an awesome video. Of course, Jax all over, doing her thing all over the world, the Klingman's Trail and all that kind of stuff. No, it was a great video. Great video. And one of the best female instructors out. You know what? I'm not even going to say it like that. One of the best instructors that I actually know.
She is.
Jax
She's
is
incredible.
phenomenal. Yes, phenomenal. So who do we got live in the house with us tonight? Let's take a look here. Deanna, Swordsman 007, all you awesome people I've highlighted. For some reason I'm hitting buttons that I shouldn't touch. Man, what is going on with all you guys? Remember, like, share, subscribe, click that button, mash it down. I see all them eyeballs out there, but I don't see any thumbs up. So smack that thumbs up for us, guys, because the algorithm gods wants us to do these things to shine favorably down upon us when you do all these cool things for us, like hit the like button. So what else do we got here? Let me go over here to my banners and assets. Of course, I already said that. Like, share, subscribe. Still don't see any thumbs up. Look, you can do it. It takes 2 seconds to hit that little button. Do it for Brian, the Triple G. Like, do it for him. Just do it for that guy.
Just do it in general. Just do it for the show.
Or just do it. Just do it to be decent, to be decent individuals.
Usually when people put a finger up towards me, it's a different finger other than a thumb.
Yeah, give a thumbs up instead of the other finger. That's a great way. You know what? I guarantee you, if they had a middle finger emoji, man, they'd be smashing that thing all to pieces.
they used to. Well, they do on phones.
Yeah, we need the middle finger emoji. Everybody would love that. So remember, Mountain Readiness Fallout, October 17th through the 19th. Make sure, man, grab those tickets because these swag bags are off the hook. There may be a couple left. I don't know. Could be, maybe not. It's worth taking the chance since there's like $400, $500 worth of swag up in those things. So, and speaking of sponsors, this dude right over here is also a sponsor.
Yeah, we're gonna have some nice discount codes going on all those swag bags for you guys.
That's it. Discount codes for already amazing prices on gear. Check out Survival Gear BSO for all your gear needs. www.survivalgear.us. And here's what I like about Survival Gear BSO is you're talking to right next to me 9 times out of 10. And that I think is, not only is it great gear and great prices, but the customer service part of it is phenomenal. You are a worker, Brian.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I was all this weekend, man. I was making calls, even though technically we're not open on the weekends. Some customers, had some things missing, thought they ordered from us. They didn't order from us. And I said, well, you didn't get your stuff from whomever else you ordered from. Why don't you give us a shot? And I said, you call me. It goes right to my cell phone. It's not going over to India somewhere where somebody random's picking up the phone and doesn't speak English for first language. You get me?
There is no rerouting of calls here. That's you get what you get. And you get this guy over here with the sexy pants. You know, if you haven't seen Brian's sexy pants, next year you'll probably see him bedazzled from top to bottom.
I'm doing that just for Paul Christopher, man. Just for Paul. Everybody else going to kick out of it.
Cowboy.
I told him, I said, I'm going to go buy like 1,000 rhinestones. And I'm going to spend weeks just gluing those things on. You know, I might put like I heart Paul Christopher just to really get under his skin.
You really need to. I agree. You should absolutely do that.
Great
So,
guy.
there's the lovely Christy, Guy, Patrick. Of course, Patrick Seven going to be seeing this guy here. Oh, thanks for joining in, guys. Tonight we got a great guest that a lot of people have not does not know, have not seen. Kind of like the Russ of Oz behind the curtain, kind of just hiding, pulling all the levers and hitting the buttons. But we're going to bring him out into the light now and introduce him. So without Bill Johnson, the CEO of Survival Gear BSO. Bill, welcome to the show, man.
Nice to be here. And I think you said Survival Gear BSO, but I think
my bad.
Yeah.
There's too many survivals. The
Right.
CEO of Survival Mastery Online. So there we go. Yeah, talking about there's so many survivals. When you do a survival show, there's a lot of survival stuff. So thanks for catching that. That's horrible of me. I'm horrible about that. But
that's all right.
Further too, I got to throw this out here. Happy birthday to Sandra Davis. Happy birthday. Glad to have you with us on your birthday. So
happy birthday.
I won't sing happy birthday, Sandra. I won't. It's probably not a good idea, but we will say happy birthday. So thanks for being a part of what we do, and hope you're having a good one. So, Bill, let's jump into it, man. And Survival Mastery Online. Tell everybody out here kind of how this transpired. What was it that brought you? We were talking behind the scenes here before we started this, the 3 a.m. What was the 3 a.m. that sparked this platform?
Yeah. So I've for years I've been a technology guy, right? And I'm a software developer, and I was burning out. And so I was laying in bed. I was watching Naked and Afraid of all the shows. It was just on Discovery Channel. And I just got to thinking, I mean, my whole childhood, I was raised in a small town called Woodland Park in Colorado, not far from where I live now. At the time when I was a kid, my graduating class was like 34 people. I mean, there was only a few thousand people in that town. And so my whole life was hunting, fishing, living in the woods. And after years and years of this corporate fight, always jockeying for position, I just wanted to get back to my roots. And so when I was laying there, it was like 3 a.m. and I literally just thought, I was like, I wonder if anybody out here is actually teaching people on an online platform, because that's where I live, right, is in the online world. And so I just started, doing a little research the next day, and I thought, well, I couldn't find anything really to speak of. And so I said, all right, well, I'll throw together a quick website and see if anybody has any interest. And I started a Facebook group and, did the little things that you do just to kind of test the waters. And it kind of exploded. It kind of took off on its own. And I was really surprised. I guess maybe not surprised, but I was really pleasantly surprised to see how many people out there really want to learn these kinds of skills. I mean, for me, what it really comes down to is the fact that self-sufficiency and self-reliance is the real freedom in this world, right? And it's the only way you can really control the things in your own life without somebody else kind of lording over you. But those skills, because of technology, because of the way that everything's going, in the last 20, 30 years, people have gotten into this really comfortable position where, somebody else will take care of it. Somebody else will take care of me. But what happens if the grocery stores close down? What happens if, the power grid goes out? Those kinds of things, I think about. And I feel like, those skills have been lost. And so I just wanted to create a platform that really kind of put them back out there, and allowed people to learn at a pace that makes sense for them in a platform. They're already on the internet all the time anyway. So I wanted to put it in front of them where they kind of live all the time. But yeah, that's kind of how it started. It was just a crazy idea at 3 a.m. watching Naked and Afraid. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that it happens. There ain't nothing wrong with that. I was actually watching Naked and Afraid. I think it was Wes. Wes, who you guys have teamed up with on the, I believe it's the Apocalypse, Naked and Afraid Apocalypse that he's on there. And so, catching up on that right there. But yeah, it's amazing at 3 a.m., what Naked and Afraid to do for you. That's scary.
Yeah. And it's funny because I hadn't even watched that show in years. And then it just happened to be on and I couldn't sleep. And it was kind of a strange coincidence. But yeah, it's a crazy show, and it gave me a crazy idea. So.
You know, Bill, I gotta delve into your background, and by the way, it makes me sick that you say, "Yeah, I just threw me a website together." You know, you tech people make me so angry because I struggle to send emails. You know, I struggle for these things, and you're like, "Yeah, let's do this website." But no, good on you, because we were also talking about this behind the scenes, and people were like, well, what does a tech guy have to do with survival? And what does a businessman have to do with survival? And I'm going to tell you guys right now, a lot of you guys know that I came from a background. I cut my teeth in the trades, mechanic and tradesman doing construction. But when I moved here, by default, I had to basically become upper management. And as a regional operations director of a very large heavy truck and trailer repair, actually we were ranked number 3 in the United States, overseeing multiple states, you know, techs all over the place. I will tell you that growing up in a tent, and we just talked about this, growing up in a tent, starving for a couple days now and again was easy compared to working in the corporate world. And I'm sure you, of all people, understand and the stress level that your body undergoes dealing with that lifestyle.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I started young in that world. So I moved out of my house when I was 13, and I was homeless for about 2 years. And so when I finally kind of got on my feet, got into an apartment, you know, or whatever, I started early. I got involved with MCI WorldCom before they became fraudulent and got destroyed. And I, you know, literally at 16 years old, you know, I just kind of jumped into the corporate world because I just wanted a better life for myself. It's kind of a strange, like my whole life is strange, but you know, but I was doing that.
You and me both, brother.
Right.
You and me
both.
both.
At the same time, I was out there playing, you know, death metal, you know, all over the country. And so, you know, I was a lead singer in a death metal band for like 15 years. I was in this corporate environment. So, I mean, by day I had a suit and tie on. At night, I was screaming into a microphone at the top of my lungs. It was kind of this weird situation, but it worked for me, you know, and,
oh yeah.
Yeah, but I dove in early and, you know, because I was I grew up kind of like what you were talking about. We didn't live in a tent, but we didn't have hardly anything. And I would say that there was easily, you know, every week there was easily 3 days where I was not at home. I was out in the woods, like literally on my own or with friends, building our own shelters, starting our own fires, catching our own fish and squirrel and rabbit and, you know, all those things. So I was trying to build a life for myself that kind of separated me from that. And it's funny how that works its way back around to where now I want to go back to that, because the corporate world is cutthroat. It's brutal. No one cares about each other. It's all about who gets to the next rung of the ladder. And in nature, man, it's you and nature, and nobody's really competing. Everybody's trying to survive. And so, you know, for me, that's where I was trying to get back to with all this.
Oh yeah. You know, I feel a kindred. I did not think I would have this connection here, Bill, but the things that you were saying resonate, and eerily it feels like my past, because I left home at 15, traveling all over the place, ended up in Fort Wayne, Indiana at 17 as a driver. I went as a driver for the Amish. That was where I started my framing career, was with the Amish there. But, you know, the whole homeless thing, going hungry, would you say, and before, we've got to talk a little bit about your past, because you have an impressive resume. It took I had to kill like an entire rainforest to print all this stuff out, just so you know. But, you know, I think it's awesome that you came from that type of beginning, because I think coming up, you know, what to say it, coming up poor, struggling, it's a different motivator. Like there's so many easy buttons, wouldn't you say, in this day and age, where you can just tap out whenever you want to?
Yeah.
But when you're in that situation, when you're there at the bottom, there is no easy button. It's either you do it or you go hungry. Either you do it or you don't survive, wouldn't you say?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I learned that at a very young age. I mean, I was already in survival mode my whole childhood, right? I mean, came from a really messed up family, and we don't have to get to that, but I mean, I was pretty much my whole childhood, I was fighting for survival. It seemed like it was much easier, believe it or not, to be homeless and to struggle for, finding what I needed to take care of just myself. When you're alone in that respect and you only have to care for yourself, you start to learn things about yourself, like what can I do without? And what are the things that I absolutely have to have? It really starts to help you kind of focus on the important things, and the other stuff is just noise, right? And so, for me, that was just kind of my whole, up until my mid-20s, I was just fighting all the time for everything. And it's, it is what it is, but you get through it, and it makes you stronger. In my opinion, it made me mentally healthy coming from where I came from. I was mentally unhealthy. And so, and that's part of what this is about for me as well, is helping people with their mental health. I think that when people know they can take care of themselves and they understand how to move forward in a way that will make sure that they are taken care of, that the people they love are taken care of, and they're not relying on somebody else that might fail them, it gives them a sense of like this accomplishment and self-reliance, as we've said, that it really alleviates, I think, anxiety, depression, and the things that really, in my opinion, are festering like in the last 20 years in the younger generation. My son's 25, and, he got to spend his whole childhood with me, hunting, camping, fishing, doing all these things. And I feel like because of that, he's well-rounded. He's much more focused. He knows exactly what he wants out of life. But other friends of his own age, have all kinds of mental problems, and they feel like they can't survive without their cell phone or without, their laptop or their tablet. And it's like, it's just crazy to me, and, so for me, it's just always been really about that fight and the mental health aspect of it. How much healthier you are when you have your own back. It's kind of
when you've unplugged, you unplug from the world too. That's, unfortunately, that in the realm that we all three live in, social media is a huge part of it. And there is many days just doing this with Mountain Readiness, I just have to shut it down and walk outside and disappear in my 40 acres up here in the mountains, because I can't, I start reverting back to that realm of upper management, that business realm that I decided I was in for too long. That is a huge part of the mental health, I think, in this world. I think you nailed it. There's no doubt, living in the fast paced world where everyone is chasing a piece of paper with a dead person on it. That dollar, will get you in the early grave quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Oh yeah. So I had an ulcer when I was in my early 20s, because like I said, I started early and I got a bleeding ulcer, and that was before they knew that you could take certain antibiotics to get rid of an ulcer. So they had to surgically remove it. It had eaten halfway through the lining of my stomach. And I was only like 23 years old, and, and I see it happening even with kids now. I mean, kids that are getting ulcers, they're getting, and they're not even working corporate jobs. They're just living their life, but it's social media. It's this technology. It's this, everybody trying to control everything you see, hear, and feel. And it's sickening to me. And I get, we came from the same generation, so I try to explain to my son, I'm like, you do realize there was a time where, a phone was connected to a wall with a cord, and if you weren't home, people left a message, right? It's like, those days
I miss those days. I miss those days. I'm gonna tell you, when you can't even have a private conversation without dragging it all the way around the wall and onto the other side of the room. And, try to get those extended coil cords that are like 80 feet long, tie up into knots. Well, I think we all are in the. What do you say, Brian? I know you got something for this.
Yeah. Hey, I'm right there. I think all three of us are Gen X, huh?
Oh yeah.
Generation X. And then, growing up with, I'll send some memes back and forth with my sisters. And one of them was a couple years ago about the corded phones. Yeah. God, I remember going over to my grandparents' house, and they had the old rotary phones. We used to play on that as kids. What wasn't one? Now that, with the Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime, you don't have to watch any commercials. I sent this meme off to my sisters maybe about a year or so ago. And I said, today's generation will never understand the excitement of hearing "it's on" from the other room. And then all the kids come screaming, finally the commercial's over and you're in the bathroom or you're getting something to snack on. It's a different world. It's definitely a different world. And I'm definitely seeing, Bill, what you had mentioned there about all these kids, these younger generations today, coming up with these mental problems, and they're just throwing medications at them.
Oh yeah.
That's not the answer. Taking a pill is not the answer.
No. I really think the answer is teaching them to be self-sufficient and how to take care of themselves. I mean, when I was a kid, I had metal shop, right, in school. They don't even have shop in school anymore. It's like these kids need to learn how to work with their hands, how to build something, a sense of accomplishment can change your entire mental attitude, right? And what do you accomplish when you make a post that gets 1,000 likes on Instagram, right? There's no sense of accomplishment there. You haven't done anything, and there's nothing tangible that you can hold on to that you can be like, I made this, or I created this thing. And it's just, it breaks my heart seeing what's happened to the younger generation these days.
I got to say, working in, it was nothing for me to set in on, big corporate meetings between Penske, JB Hunt, set there multi-million-dollar negotiations with the South Carolina Port Authority. I mean, that was just an everyday event for me. And it was sickening. It was sickening that it felt like the life was being sucked out of me. Like the worst part about the job, I remember my day started at around 4 a.m. because everyone was asleep. It was the only time I could get anything accomplished for just an hour or two was at that 3:30, 4 a.m. in the morning to go through emails and try to get on top of everything. While the world slept, I did not. But the worst part for me about the job that I had to just walk away from, mentally affecting me, was the days ended and started the exact same. Yeah. Like no matter how much I did no matter how early I started in the day, I was in the exact same place at the end of the day. The same there was 500 more emails. There was more conference calls scheduled. There was more fires put out. And that was where I had to say, is this really worth it? Is the money really worth it when you think about it? Because you can always make money, but time you never get back. Time is something that it's fleeting. There's only so much of it. And when it's gone, it's gone. And so that struggle for me was where I had to cut ties and do something different. There was no sense of accomplishment because it always ended the exact same as it started. And it was just this repetitive, nonstop putting out fires. I'm sure you understand it. Let's talk about your background, Bill, because man, I mean, we got software system engineer, NASA, Aerospace.
We're going to need a couple more shows to talk about all of it.
Did you see? I sent it over to Brian. I was like, here, man, don't print this out. Like the tree people will get mad when we trash it all out.
That's funny.
But, it's impressive, Bill.
But, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, lead projects. Here was something I found really cool is that you did projects in the gas and electric industry, of course, HVAC as well, HVAC sales, but gas and electric industry. I mean, what did that do for you with the preparedness realm? Like, because gas and electric, that's one of those things. If it stops, boy, we saw with her, you see some real craziness go down. At that point, people get very violent when the AC doesn't come on and the microwave doesn't work and Netflix no longer, can be watched. Right. So, but tell everybody, I mean, NASA, like how did you get into working with NASA?
Yeah. Well, so after when MCI WorldCom started when WorldCom and MCI came together, right? I was about 19, 20 years old, somewhere in there. And I decided I wanted to switch gears, right? I wanted to work with my hands. I wanted to do some other things. So I got into machining and I became a machinist. And I was, working for a company called S&H Machinery out of Colorado Springs here. And we were actually making the switchboard covers for NASA satellites. And so, which are a millionth, fractions of an inch in that respect for anybody who doesn't really understand machining, but there's tolerances, right? And so we would make 3 boards. They would pay us $300,000 for one of those boards, and they would send 2 of them back because they were out of tolerance or they were, whatever. Sometimes they'd send all 3 back. We'd have to make them again, right? And so that's where I started, and I got to really know a lot of the guys over at NASA. And then a couple years into that, I got hit by a truck in a crosswalk, a Ford F-150, and broke my hip, shattered my leg, raised my collarbone by almost 4 inches. The whole right side of my body was just jacked. And so they were like, well, we're going to have to put you back through college. We're going to, all these other things. And because I was not supposed to ever lift over 25 pounds again in my life, which is just crap. But I lift that every day. But
Right.
yeah, but it's, I figured the attorneys were trying to get paid, and why not, go back to school, take some more classes, and maybe move in a different direction, in my career. So I called the guys, that we had been working with over at NASA, and there was a few others, Bigelow Aerospace also. I knew all those guys at that point. And I was just like, hey man, what direction do you think I should go? They don't want me machining anymore. What do you guys think? And they were like, software engineering. And I was like, okay. I was like, if I go ahead and do this, can you guys work with me? Is there something I can do for you guys? And I just happened to have an inroad there because of already doing stuff with them previously.
Right.
Yeah. And so I was able to start my own company and basically work for them as a third-party contractor, building software systems for real-time relay to the troops around the world. So it was really interesting. It was really, really fun stuff. Got to work with the Air Force, the Navy. They all came together, and it was brilliant. And then that just moved into, because I had my own company, it moved into me going to Bigelow Aerospace as well. And I know Bigelow. He's I don't know if you know, but he owns like all the Days Inns and dollar the dollar hotels, the whatever dollar hotels that are out there that exist around the country. So he's just this like weird reclusive billionaire guy who wanted to build his own space company and bought up all these patents on all these different satellite systems and stuff like that. So he got wind of what I was doing with NASA and then contracted me as well. And I spent a large portion of my 20s into my 30s building software systems for satellites that still float around in space today.
Very cool. Very cool. I mean, hey, that's something to be proud of though. Or maybe not, maybe because of what you've done, when the Terminators start taking us all out, you played a part into that, Bill.
I know. I will definitely feel
thousands
guilty.
of satellites. No, I mean, it is awesome. It is awesome to come from where you were and just work your way into that. I have a good friend of mine, Jim Thompson, who actually worked for NASA too as a CNC and did a bunch of software design. Then later Penske picked him up, and he worked with Penske and that family for quite a few years, doing all that stuff, zero tolerance. And, I know Jim, I worked with one of the guys on your platform, Kyle Gahagan, is a good friend of mine. Pete Smith is who taught me how to make knives. And Jim did some work with us for on the CNC stuff, and he actually came over with similar paperwork as what you've got here. And, he was like, we did, about a 100,000th tolerant, whatever. And I was like, look, Jim, like we're making knives, man. Like right. I need like 3 thousandths. That's it. Like if you can hit that, we're good. We're golden. But he was like, 100 thousandths of an inch tolerance and, a million to that. I'm like, no, it's a knife, man. We don't need that. But impressive. And all the stuff. Now you also did, let's see, you had your own business, the HVAC Sales Academy. What is that? Was this, how did that work?
So I decided that was right around the time I decided that I was burnt out and I was done. That was about almost 15 years ago now. Gosh, time flies. But so it's been about 15 years and I moved back to Colorado. I walked away from everything. I closed my business. I left everything behind in Las Vegas, which is where I was living at the time. And I packed up a truck, not even a big one. It was like a regular truck, like not a moving truck.
It's like a Ford Ranger.
Yeah, like a Ford Ranger, exactly. With whatever I could grab, the things that I felt like were the most important to me. My dog, of course. And
absolutely.
And then I just decided I'm done. And I called up my landlord. I said, I'm leaving. I was like, so, charge me for the lease or whatever you want to do, but I can't do this anymore. And so he was like, all right. And I took off and I got back here and I didn't know what I was going to do. I just had my savings account and my son at the time who was, about 12 years old at that point. And I was like, and it was just me and him and my dog. And I was like, what the hell am I going to do? But I was just tired, I was mentally exhausted. And I was starting to feel bad about some of the things that I was doing. Like what you were like I said, I'll feel guilty if Terminator happens. I'm not saying I was a part of it, but I mean, I knew that some of the stuff I was making was not going to be used for the best of purposes. Right. And
Right.
so I was like, I just wanted to get away from it and get out of it. And so it's funny. There's a place here called the Broadmoor. It's a big resort, right? They got golf courses, all this stuff. And I went over there to eat dinner one night, and this guy, Weldon Long, and he's, if you look him up, he's a best-selling author. He was in prison for 13 years for armed robbery and kidnapping. And when he was he got his master's degree. He self-taught, went through all the courses you can go through while you're in prison. And he just happened to be there, having dinner, and he saw me, and he recognized me. I guess he used to follow my band back when I was playing music.
Nice.
Yeah, and he walked up to me and he's like, "Hey, did you used to be in this band called Twist of Fate?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "God, that's another lifetime ago," And he's like, "Man, I loved you guys. I followed you guys everywhere until I went to prison." And I was like, "What?" That's. I guess you'd have to stop following us at that point,
Right. Yeah, you don't have an alternative.
Right. And so he's like, "Hey, would it be okay if I got your number? I'd like to give you a call." And I was like, "Sure, that's fine." And so I gave him my number, and 3-4 days later, he called me up, and he's like, "So what do you do?" And I explained to him, what I had done for the past, however many years. And he's like, "Oh my God, you don't know how badly I need help with this project I want to build." And I didn't realize at that point that he had built the most successful HVAC company in Colorado. He within getting out of prison within 3 years, he built a $20 million HVAC company. And
wow.
Yeah, incredible stuff. And so he's like, but he goes, he was keynote speaking all the time and traveling so much that it actually destroyed his thyroid. And so he's like, I got to get off the road. I've got to figure out a way to get my training in the hands of all these HVAC companies that really need it. And at the time I was like, okay, let me build you a system. And I'm like, because I know what you're asking for, but it doesn't exist. So I commenced for about a year by myself, building him the first LMS, learning management software system that was video based with scoring, leaderboards, badges, the whole 9 yards. And I didn't want to have to manage it. So I sold it to some friends of mine. It's now called LearnDash. It's the LMS plugin that everybody uses for WordPress.
Okay.
But so I built that for him as a one-off because I was like, you need an actual system where people feel like they're getting education. Like they would from you in a classroom when they pay to have you come out and spend 3 days with their staff, right? And so I built this whole system. We put it together. We launched the online thing. Within a year, we went from 0 online revenue to 1.5 million. The second year, we were almost 6 million. And then the third year, EGIA, which is the Energy Gas Industry Association out of California, wanted to buy the company. So they bought the HVAC Sales Academy from me and Wally for 17 million. And they brought me on board for 4 years to teach their entire staff how to manage the systems, how to integrate with their existing CRMs and different, software stuff that they use, and how to tie the whole thing together. And then to basically run the business model for them until they were comfortable with it. So I did that for 4 years after that. And then, and not only that, but we help build software for them that is in-home financing software for when HVAC guys go into the home, or now it's been expanded, right? So now it's not just HVAC guys, it's plumbers, window and door guys. It's anybody who has to come into the home and either sell a service or do a repair or anything like that. And so it's a fully comprehensive. They have 7 different trainers now. It went from them buying it for 17 million to now it is a $50 million a year company. It was kind of incredible, and it was really, really cool.
I mean, you guys pioneered this really.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, we were before Masterclass. We were before all of it. Yeah. All of it.
Amazing. You know, the best part about this is that when he said he was in prison and he used to listen to you in the heavy metal band, that he didn't say it was your music that made him kill the people. You know,
That's
the
good.
best
Yeah.
part. Be
Yeah. Well, and luckily he didn't
be like,
kill
man, I
anyone,
killed all those people because of that awesome song you sang.
Right. Yeah. No, luckily he didn't kill anyone. He did a bunch of coke and crack, and then went out and robbed I think it was a liquor store with a shotgun, and so it became armed robbery. And then he moved the clerk from one part of the liquor store into the back room, and that's considered kidnapping.
Not happening.
Yeah,
wow.
That's how it works. You know, but at the same time, think about, you know, if that had never happened, I'm not saying that it was a good thing, and I'm sure he doesn't think it's a good thing that what he did, but, you know, as Rick James said, you know, cocaine, a hell of a drug, but, you know, it makes you do some weird, crazy stuff, right? But, but, you know, if that had never happened, then where would he have been, you know, afterwards? Like this whole idea of what he put together, got with you, you know, you change one little thing, and it offsets your entire life, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about, because we got people asking about, you know, how Survival Mastery works online, and, you know, how do they find you guys? How do they utilize what you guys offer? So what was the, you know, your career spanning between NASA and aerospace, multiple startups, you know, what drew the two together? You know, how did you be like, okay, I'm done with, you know, developing software for NASA and all this, you know, 3 a.m. We watched Naked and Afraid. What was it? You know, I know you talked about the mental side of this, you know, people who are just, you know, not right in this day and age because of technology, but in essence, you're kind of fighting fire with fire, right? You're using technology to get people away from technology.
Yeah, absolutely. My biggest thing was I wanted to, I mean, all the skills I acquired, right, throughout my career and my life. And like I said, I was unhappy because I felt like some of the things I was doing for these companies and these government agencies were not going to be used for the betterment of society or for the betterment of people individually. And you know, and not that I can speak directly to how those things were used, and if I did, someone might show up and kill me. But you know, I could tell that some of the software systems that I was building parts of, because it's like the KFC recipe, right? Nobody ever has the full thing, right? And so but I could tell some of the stuff I was building, I could tell that there were certain uses that could hurt people, or that could hurt our economy or hurt our government. Or, I mean, there's a lot of pieces there. And so I wanted to take everything I learned and what I was good at, and figure out a way to help people. Like literally, that's my whole goal, is to help people. And so I had been in the online education space with the HVAC Sales Academy, and I love the results we saw there, because we were actually changing people's entire fortunes, right? We had companies that would go through our training programs and go from making, you know, $400,000 a year to $4 million a year, and suddenly be able to afford that home they always wanted, and that sort of thing. And it really felt good to know that what we were doing was benefiting people in their lives, and that I was able to use a skill set I had to help facilitate that, right? And so that's where this whole thing basically, you know, came from, was that idea that it's like, but I wanted to help a bigger part of America than just the 64,000 HVAC companies that exist in America, right? You know, I wanted to really help educate the younger generation, you know, people my son's age, you know, even people that are older. You'd be amazed at how many subscribers we have on the platform that are my age or older. And so, you know, because they lived their whole lives in an urban environment. They barely spent any time outdoors. They never went camping or fishing or any of those things with their families because of the life that they were raised in. And they're now, you know, 50 to 55 years old, going, you know, while I still got the energy and the physical ability, I want to learn how to take care of myself. And so for me, that's what it really comes down to, is being able to use my tech background to build a platform that allows these trainers, these people who have spent their whole lives learning skills and learning these things, to now pass that knowledge on and to put it in a place where people are familiar, because everybody lives online now, trying to do, like, the one thing I've noticed, and I've talked to a lot of schools out there, like the Boulder Outdoor Survival School, for example, has for the last like 5-6 years really been struggling with getting students in, you know, because it's out of the reach of most people cost-wise. The time you have to take off from work, you know, now you're eating up either vacation time or PTO time. just so that you can go to a 3-day or a 5-day, outdoor training. And when you're in person, you're only learning a small amount of skills, right? You're learning maybe fire starting, shelter building, and one other thing, maybe if they can squeeze that in a 3 to 5 day period. Where with this, we can expand. It's limitless how much we can teach in this world. Not just the survival world, but we're talking about everything outdoors, everything wilderness, and beyond. We even want to do survival training specifically for corporate companies to teach their executives how to be better leaders, how to actually work within a team, So yeah, for me, this is about just helping people. And this was the only way I really knew how to do it, if that makes sense.
You know what? Utilize your strengths. And that's what you've done here. I love it. That was kind of the behind the scenes for Mountain Readiness as well. Going around, it was either a homesteading event or it was just a bushcraft event. And I was like, man, we need something that brings together all aspects of preparedness, right? It isn't just about rubbing sticks together. It's not about just planting gardens. It's about all the above. You have to be able to grow your own food. You have to be able to protect your homestead. You have to be able to utilize and maintain your homestead. The trades are a huge thing that is dying. Like people don't want to get dirty. They don't want to go out and work with their hands anymore. And now we have this huge shortage of people who can do construction work, who can pave roads, who can do, just basic man things. My wife is in law enforcement. Right. She's still in law enforcement, but on a different aspect of that. And as a police officer, I can't even count how many times she called and said, "Hey, I'll call you back. I have to help this gentleman change his tire." And I'm like, "Say what?
You say that.
You got to do what again?" And I'm like, look, it's not for everybody. I get it. But these skills just have diminished. And that's why I really like what you're doing, Bill, is because it's just like people have gotten away from what would be the best way to put it without being mean. Common sense, core value. And it just doesn't exist. Like me growing up, it was just the usual thing. What do you mean you're taking your vehicle to go put brakes on your car? Like you do that yourself. Oh man, take those wheels off. Yeah. Take all those studs off. Yeah. Pull the wheels, change the brake. Yeah. This is how you do this. This is the thing that I really think people are lacking, is just that everyday common sense and maintaining the things that you have and not depending on other people to do it for you. So,
and T, it's not even, changing the tire. It's even something as simple as how to put a ratchet strap on.
Right.
Running a drill. Listen, there's a cousin of mine. I know he's not watching this. And he joined, my whole family's electricians. So we all joined the trade, 5-year apprenticeship program. And he joined at 27. I joined at 27. We did the college thing, and then we worked in office, and then, kind of went backwards. Took a big step backwards in order to take a larger step forward in the end. And it was like his first day out in the field at the age of 27. Some guys like, here, there's a pilot bit on here. I need you to drill a few pilot holes into here and here and here. I said, okay. He said, my foreman comes back about 15 minutes later. He's like, I am just pouring sweat, putting everything I have into it. Guy says, you don't have one hole drilled yet. It's been 15 minutes. So let me see that. See if you got the damn thing on reverse. I said, come on, man. Like 15 minutes straight trying to drill a hole in reverse. I'm like, come on, man.
It's a thing, man. It's a thing. Being a tradesman and a mechanic for many, many years, 28 years as a road tech and in a shop and heavy truck and trailer repair. I can't even count. And I'm going to say kids because they're kids to us, but a 23, 24, 25-year-old roll up on the job site and couldn't find their ass with both hands to save their life. Like they literally had no clue where to begin. I'm like, well, it's pretty simple. It's lefty loosey, righty tighty. The nut, unless it's a reverse thread, left is off, right is on. They're like, oh, it was mind blowing for them.
Yeah.
And we've got to do something. We've got to do something. And what you're doing, that unfortunately in the world we live in, this is what people use for knowledge now. So
yeah, and like you
I
said,
love
it's
it.
fighting fire with fire. You know, it's online education was predicted, 10 years ago, like literally 5 years after I started doing it, was predicted to be the next big wave in the next like 20 to 30 years, because everybody's on their phone. I mean, when you think about the fact that you carry a supercomputer in your pocket, right? And and you have access to everything in the world. And now with AI, you've got access to not just all the information that's out there, but you've got basically a computer, or what they call a large learning, module that can search things for you faster than you and find you answers so much, even faster than before. It's faster than Google, right? So
it scares me.
yeah,
I'm not going to lie. It's scary.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. And, so when you think about that and you really think about what that's doing to us as a society, when you look around the world, I mean, America's, Western societies are seeing more of an effect of that than the rest of the world, because there's still huge swaths of like Brazil and China and places like that are still living an old school lifestyle, right? They're still growing their own food. They're still off grid for power. They're still, and so it's funny because I was talking to Wes about this, and he said down in Brazil, this is how people live, right? Like, right. And in America and in Western countries in general, a lot of that's been lost, because now we have, I mean, when you were talking about these 23-year-olds show up and they don't know, how to loosen a screw or whatever, first you got to get them to show up. I mean, that's that's the hardest part, in my opinion.
That's a fact.
Yeah. And it's like, when I was young, it's like, I don't understand the newer generation well enough to understand why this happens. But it's like, when I was a kid, you got up, you worked. I mean, we raised 26 horses. So it was like, from the time I was 7 years old until I left home, every morning I had to feed the horses. I had to go out there after school and muck out the stalls. I had responsibilities. And I don't know if the younger if parents have just been too soft on their kids, or they haven't given them the responsibilities that they need, or they just don't take it seriously. But it just kills me seeing what's happening now. And yeah. And that's what, again, that's what this platform's about. But it's not just, it's not just about that sort of thing. It's also about the little things that we're losing too. It's that we're going to be adding a forum to the site so people can start talking to one another and kind of bouncing ideas off of each other. We want to really create a community, right? Like a big small town, where people have people they can lean on, for knowledge. Like, hey, I'm working on this fence and I can't get the post straight, whatever it is. Just it could be anything. Yeah. But instead of having the internet be this thing where you doom scroll all the time and read these terrible stories about all the, and left and right and middle and all this other crap, it's like, why can't we use it as a tool to help each other for real?
Oh yeah. I mean, the capabilities of what you can do with the internet and online now. Like, I remember working on my vehicles as a teen and early 20s, and it was a Chilton's manual. Like, because that was dial up. I mean, you guys, we all remember dial up and all that kind of craziness. I didn't even deal with that kind of stuff. It was, let's grab the Chilton's manual. Let's, look up brake systems, go to chapter 3, page, whatever. And, now it's at your fingertips, boom, pull it up. So yeah, the doom scrolling thing is, I even find myself doing it, it's very easy. I mean, you have some geniuses that do this stuff, you being one of them. And some of them is just about, views and clicks and to get you. I mean, this stuff, I'd say this, Temu is evil, guys.
Yes.
Like, Temu is evil. Like, you get this notification and it's like, hey, click here and you get a free gift and it's worth like $5,000. I'm like, what? And you click it and there's spinning wheels, there's fireworks shooting out and all this stuff. I'm like, this is freaking amazing. And then 45 minutes later, you're like, I got to get the hell out of here. I don't know what kind of possessed shit that I've been looking at. I got to get off this screen. It's insane.
These companies have hired psychologists. I mean, and I used to work with these people, so to literally figure out what triggers addictive behavior. And so they build these platforms like Twitter, Facebook, all of them. And Temu, is the same. There's another, I mean, there's so many of them now. I could go on for hours listing them, but it's like these huge corporate companies, and most of them are owned behind the scenes by even bigger corporate entities. They've spent years like looking at the psychology of what makes people act and react and what keeps them engaged. And they focus on that. And it's terrible for our mental health. It's terrible for the way that we communicate with one another. It's killed. I mean, when I was young, I used to be able to go to the grocery store. If I saw a woman that I thought was attractive, I could be like, hey, can I get your number? And it was fine. If I do that now, because of what's happened on the internet and social media, I'm a creep, right? So it's a weird shift, from this.
It is.
I've been seeing these things that are like, the 80s want you back. Come back to the 80s, right? And I came up in the 80s, and I was like, I do miss the 80s, man. I miss sitting on car hoods and talking to my friends and being face to face with people. It's gone now. It's crazy.
No, it is. I hate that the generate, that's the biggest thing is that and the communication skills. I mean, that's what you're talking about as well. Right here is, I remember I would probably interview 20 to 30 people a week, because when you're doing all these different states, the turnover rate in the heavy truck and trailer, road service business is very high, because it's hard to find people who want to work on the side of I-95 on a semi, and that who have a death wish, on especially on that interstate, and for mediocre money. But I found myself, we would get an email and they were like, yeah, we want to interview. We would like to work for you. I call. Nobody answers. As soon as I text, I get an instant reply. I'm like, well, wait a second. I just called this dude and no answer. I text him and he's like, yeah, sure. Yeah. When can we get together? I'm like, I just called you, like, answer your phone. The speaking, that the language skills just don't exist anymore because of text and all these other options. So, now we had Patrick was asking here, he was asking about, for the younger kids, do you have plans for like, younger kids doing like youth classes, things like that?
Absolutely. So we're gonna be launching a whole new section of our platform called the Kids Corner, and it's gonna be for ages 5 to 12. And we're actually we were working with EJ on it originally, but now that EJ is no longer with us, we're shifting gears. But we're gonna do, basically, it's gonna be a mix of animation, because I have some friends who are amazing animators. They've worked on like DreamWorks movies and things like that. So we're going to do a mix of animation with some real hands-on. And we're also going to be bringing some kids in to film trainings with the kids to kind of show other kids that they can do this, right? This isn't something to be scared of. And we're not teaching anything crazy, nothing that the kids will get hurt doing, but we want to get them to a certain level so we can graduate them to the next phase, which would be that 12 to 18 age area. Where we can start to get more intensive, with what they're learning, and take the stuff they learned at a younger age and move them through that kind of basic to advanced skill set.
So try to bring these kids back around from just doom scrolling to actually getting out there and getting their hands dirty and doing stuff in the outdoors. Yeah, absolutely. That's great. That is great. Guy was talking about, let's see here. Let's throw that up. He said, Survival, how do we look up the classes that you have? Right there, Guy. That's all you need to do. Scan that QR code, and that will take you to Survival Mastery Online, and then it's got a breakdown. Can you explain the platform, how it kind of works a little bit, Bill?
Sure. So starting off, we were just mirroring what's kind of already out there, right? So there's other platforms on online education, so we just kind of followed suit with them. We're going to be making some changes here in the near future, and I will say this: anyone who's joined early or that's been getting in, because we've really only been launched since October of last year. So they're getting to watch the evolution of what we're doing, and we're trying to make it more accessible. So we're going to be, right now, we have 3 tiers, which just allows you to be able to watch any of our training that we've produced on a different number of devices, right? So think like Netflix kind of idea. So you've got, the first tier is 1 device, the next tier is 2 devices, and then the family or the group plan is up to 6 devices at one time. But we're going to be changing that here soon in the future. And I don't want to give too much away, but we want to make sure that anyone can get our training. And that's why we tried to do it this way, to make it more accessible, more cost effective for people. But we're going to start selling our courses in our online store starting in the next 30 days. So because we do realize that some of the courses we produce are not things that people may want to learn about, right? So if you don't want to know how to smith a blade, for example, but you do want to know how to build yourself a bushcraft shelter, you can buy just the bushcraft shelter building course through our store for a nominal fee, and then you'll own it forever. You'll be able to watch it anytime you need it. So instead of needing a membership, we're going to be starting to sell these courses individually, but then we'll also have, a higher level membership that gives you access to every single course that we produce for as long as you're a member. So you won't have to, ever worry about buying them one at a time as you see them. So yeah, there's a few changes coming up here in the next 30 days, but really the platform is trying to democratize survival training and make it affordable for people and within reach, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, that's it. It's a great way to reach all, especially I can't go talk more about youth, because I think, all my kids are in their 20s now, and I wanted them to have an easier life, right? Because we grew up having this hard life, and we kind of in a sense, we kind of kicked ourselves in our own butts because we wanted them to have this better, easier life. And in the process, we made it too easy for them, and they didn't really grasp the concept behind working hard for what you got. Right. So, all my kids have come back around, but it is a thing. It is a thing. We kind of created our own problem with the youth now.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. And I think it really, for me, the way I've always seen it is it's creating better habits, right? So you have habits now. And so what's happened with our youth is the habits that they have formed are around their phone, or around, they're around things that are not healthy for them, for one thing. And for another thing, they don't do anything for them. They don't move them forward in their future. They don't. And I know there's people out there, there's influencers and blah, 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 but that's a false hope. It's like, I played music for years. I wanted to be famous, but the chances of becoming a wildly famous rock star are real slim, right? And even with that, you've got to work pretty hard at it. So these influencers, they make it seem easy, but they are working their asses off for what they're achieving, getting 12, 15 million followers and keeping them engaged. That's a job, right? And it's hard. It's hard work. You've got to constantly be creative. You've got to constantly be filming yourself, editing. It's just a constant battle, right? That you're fighting all the time, and you got to stay relevant. But these kids see it and they think, I can just do that. I'll just go make $1 million being an influencer, right? And it's like, they don't understand that it's, there's work involved in everything you do. So form good habits and understand what the reward versus what you're putting into it is. And it will make your life a lot easier. Like my son, he's amazing. He's 25, and I feel blessed that he does understand that. So he started working for Survival Mastery as our head of production and videography, because he's always been a talented kid with a camera and stuff like that. And the moment he took over, because I was doing it, and I thought I was okay, right? And then I see the videos he's producing now, and I'm like, how did anyone watch the shit that I was making? Like, it was terrible by comparison. But he works, he works his butt off, and he understands that he's not going to get anywhere in life without putting in the effort. And I think if we just build healthier habits within the youth, and it's one step at a time, like one thing, if you can form a habit to once a week spend 1 hour outside, that's where it starts, right? And then
there,
you just grow from there. And I think that's what I'm really going for. I mean, I know I'll never get kids to completely put down their phones. I know that I'll never get them to completely separate from social media or those things that are ingrained in their life. My goal is just to get them away from it long enough to start to learn the common sense skills that we learned growing up, so that when it hits the fan, that they can at least care for themselves and their loved ones, right? Because we all know whether it's a natural disaster, and it could be a personal thing. I see survival as a day-to-day thing, right? Sometimes you just want to survive through your day at work, right? Because you've got a toxic boss or something like that. So, I mean, survival is all perspective. And I think that having the right habits, knowing how to calm yourself, there's just certain skills and habits that you can learn that will get you through your day easier, get you through your week, your month, your year, and your life, where you feel confident about everything that you're doing and you move forward with a purpose. So,
man, couldn't have said it better myself, Bill. That was awesome.
Brother.
What you're doing is awesome. We're at the top of the hour, man. The show has flown by. Yeah, we are 1 hour in, just like that. But that's what happens when you have good company. I'm glad that you joined us, Bill. because what you're saying really resonates with me, my upbringing. It sounds like your upbringing. I was in the music thing as well, younger, of course I was on the country side of thing. I still jam a little Poison, but my voice just doesn't, have that real heavy metal air to it, but, how we grew up, I feel like a lot of kindred spirit right there. So, we've got to do this again. We got to get you back on, and we got to get you out to Mountain Readiness sometime so you can come hang out and visit with a bunch of people that's already on your platform.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I would love it. You mentioned before we even got on here, some of the people we work with are people that you guys work with too. So our circle's tight, and I love seeing those guys anytime I get the opportunity. So yeah, just, hit me up, let me know. Thanks for having me on, man. This has been absolutely amazing. I've loved it.
It was great. It was great. Brian, what you got to lead us out of here with, man? We'll go around the table.
Well, listen, all you guys who are chatting here now, spread Survival Mastery to your friends. If you haven't checked out the website yet, you absolutely have to. Survivalmastery.co. I love what you're doing, Bill. I absolutely do. And I know a lot of the people you've got involved there. Right off the bat, Sean Kelly, he was one of my instructors for years back at Pathfinder School. That's where I met Jax Janega. She and I were training together back at Pathfinder. Rick Spicer, Joe Flowers, awesome guy. Phil Liebel, amazing guy. He and I got trapped in a hotel room together while his wife and kids were in the other one. Headed to Saluda, North Carolina last year during Hurricane Helene. He's an awesome dude. Love that guy. He's actually one of my affiliates. But yeah, you have some of the best instructors out there. A lot of instructors I've wanted to train under myself, just haven't had the opportunity to yet. So listen, all you guys watching, all you guys listening, pass it along to your friends and your family. Make it out to Mountain Readiness, and definitely go get some training. If you can't do the in-person training like Bill was saying, go to Survival Mastery and check them out, because they have some of the top-notch instructors in the entire country.
Awesome. Bill, if the listeners take away one message from you today, what should it be?
I would say probably what I say to most people is wake up every day with purpose and live a life that makes you feel fulfilled. That's
awesome.
How I live my life. So. Yeah.
Could you sing that in a heavy metal screaming type? No, I'm just kidding with you. Maybe next time.
I want to see him headbang.
Don't tempt me. Yeah.
That's an awesome time, Bill, for sure, man. It's been a pleasure. It was great talking. We need to stick around afterwards. We can chat for a couple minutes. But guys, you know the routine. Stay safe, stay ready. Go ahead and lead us out of here, Russ, man.